So for this project, you can get it by hand, but it is quite difficult to get all the shapes right. So if you can get it profile cut somewhere, that's the way to go. But a few years ago, I built myself a CNC plasma cutter. And you can see it working away there, just getting the primary cuts for the different shapes. It's made out of plate steel, 4mm thick, and really only need one sheet per fire pit. So a 2400 by 1200 sheet. So what I'm doing here is just knocking the dag off the edge of all the cutout shapes. It is a very tedious task. Probably the most annoying job out of the making of the fire pit. But to get those edges to meet up nicely, you do need to take off all the dags and little sharp edges. So here's a very basic overview of how many different plates you'll need. I will put a link in the description below and you can get all the dimensions and everything there. But most of your edges will come out at 200 if you're making a 1 meter wide fire pit, which makes it all quite simple to build. So starting with your base grill plate, you add the hexagons from there, and you just got to make sure all your edges line up here. Any misalignment here will be compounded as you put the rest of the plates on, so take a bit of extra time here. You see I do fiddle around a bit here to make sure each of those plates line up. I did build a fire pit where I didn't take as much care here, and by the time I'd put the last panel on, I was almost 5mm out, so you know that's no good for hot embers and live coals dropping out, so you've got to make sure you take your time here. From this point, I do go ahead and stitch up the base, making sure that's nice and stiff for the rest of the build is important, because it is quite a heavy fire pit by the end. It's probably getting up to 60 kilos worth, something around that. Often I get the grinder out and just take little edges off. Do whatever you can do to make those panels fit in as closely as possible. Really makes the fire pit stand out if those edges are real nice and neat, snugly fit together. So there's attaching the last 5 hexagons. And then your half hexagons at the top. if you have two plates that don't quite line up, just getting a pair of G-clamps and trying to pull them in together. Because if you've only tacked it so far, you will be able to get a bit of movement there, and you can easily crack a tack weld so you can get a closer fit. Just putting the edging around the fire pit now. You don't have to do this, but I find it really sets the fire pit off with an edge around the top. Even with plasma cut parts, you still have to grind your angles again and just make sure everything fits up nice. Then working onto the base, little grill feet, I guess. Welding at the base plate was quite a bit easier than I thought. You just tack a spot in the middle and bend everything up to it. I do break off sections at a time, but it is pretty much guesswork. But when you get all the edges to line up, the angles will come right by themselves. You see at this point I have to grind out that centre weld, but it's all part of the fun. Once again, getting those edges to line up as much as possible. Sometimes it does take quite a bit of a heave and a push to get them to line up. Obviously quite important that the fire pit is level when you weld the base on. That's an easy trap to fall into, especially if your table's not level. There it is. I think at the end it did look like a good fire pit. It's better than ones you buy in the shop, I think. So I ended up making 2 fire pits. The smaller one has just 1 row less of hexagons. So I just thought I'd show you one last thing. I forgot to make a little bottom piece, so I made them later, which I didn't show in the video, but they stop any coals coming out of the grill and falling over the deck and burning your feet and whatever else. They pop in there and lock in like that. There you go. So that's it for this video, but I will be putting up some more soon. So if you thought that was any good, you could like or potentially even subscribe if you feel inclined. Bye.